Hello, this is Fritz-Ay says, and welcome back to Lyre. So, it's been a bit, and I believe the last time that we were in Lyre, we were touring the town with Lyle, visiting the blacksmith and the bakery, and we just got back to the castle and encountered Adrius. So, yeah, let's see what's going to happen in preparation for the winter ball.
Yes, I know that. Oh, okay. Still, I just wanted to let you know that you have to let them heal for at least a day. I understand. I'm not an idiot. Of course, Your Highness.
Once I turn the corner, I find it hard to keep a straight face. It's a very strange thing seeing Adrius without his horns. It's also hard not to notice. Like if I chopped off all my hair. Prince Adrius. What on Tigran happened?
What do you mean, what happened? I shed my antlers.
Oh. I'm not entirely sure if that's a normal thing. Honestly, his answer just brings up more questions. I've heard that some species with horns will shed them, but I didn't think this is what that meant. So, this is normal?
Of course it's normal. It happens every winter. And I would have preferred you not to see me this way. So don't go blabbing to your lackey about this like it's some sort of hilarious joke.
After his outburst, he pushes past me, continuing to walk down the hallway. Your Highness, I wouldn't. Leaf scuttles behind him, trying to get some last words in.
Now, remember, you need to rub that oil on your horns once a day, and they should go back in no time.
I can see his face right now, and I'm pretty sure Adrius is rolling his eyes.
Of course, I'm sure with how healthy they were, they'll grow back even faster. Our prince always did have such beautiful horns.
I rub the back of my head as I listen to Leaf desperately try to advise him. Adrius reaches the door to what I presume is his room. It's a large set of double doors with antler-shaped handles.
And remember to...
Adrius leans in the doorway of his room and pokes his head out.
Thank you so much for your kind words of wisdom and compliments, Doctor.
He says this in a very insincere tone.
Goodbye.
He shuts the door on Leaf, causing him to reel. Patting off his robe, he lets out a sigh of defeat and starts walking towards me. Why is he always like that?
What do you mean?
Why is he so rude all the time? He takes a moment to think, or choose his words wisely.
It's probably because of all the expectations being weighed on him. He doesn't get a lot of time for himself.
I don't know. He just seems very closed off.
He hasn't opened up to anyone in a very long time from what I've heard.
Don't be so harsh on the poor lad.
The sneaky cat approaches us while Leaf jumps a bit.
It's a large burden that he's being given. It's best that we give him some space and treat him with the respect.
He pauses after this statement and holds out his paw, observing his claws.
Sorry for interrupting your discussion.
That's all right.
Yes, but on that last note, respect goes both ways. He shakes his head in a disappointed way.
Sadly, not in this profession.
After this statement, he turns to Leaf.
Leaf, was it? I was hoping I could get a moment alone to talk with Lord Owen.
Of course. I'll be going now.
His taloned feet clack against the floor as he walks away.
It was nice seeing you, Owen.
Take care. After he's gone, Kadaj nods his head to the right.
Walk with me.
Sure. His tail swishes back and forth as we mosey down the corridor.
How has your time here been?
Very good, for the most part. It's been very accommodating, and I've even made friends with the captain of the guard.
Yes, Lyre Reed. The brave shining knight. I have a feeling he doesn't like me much.
Oh. He has difficulty opening up to people. That's not true, but I'd rather not tell Kadaj that Lyle doesn't trust him.
I find that hard to believe. You've only been here for a few weeks, and he's become one of your dearest friends.
Yes, I suppose he has.
That reminds me. Are you planning on attending the ball?
I was planning on going, yes. I put so much work into setting it up that it would be a shame not to go.
Planning on bringing anyone? There are plenty of pretty ladies in court that you could ask. Or gentlemen, if you prefer that.
I blush at the thought of going to the party with Lyle by my side. Yes, I suppose there are.
It's okay, though. I still don't know who I will go with. I'll most likely end up deciding on the night it happens.
He lets out a small chuckle and then stops walking to look out the window.
Why were you sent here?
What?
Sorry if that seems out of nowhere. What does Ern want from this exchange?
What does he mean? I was sent here for the same reason that he was. Lyre was in need of advisors for the king. It was a simple trade deal. I was sent here to help the king of Lyre with maintaining order for a hefty price. After I finish answering, he takes a moment to respond as he stares out one of the windows.
As I had thought. I am here as a diplomat too, but that was not the only task I was given.
What was the other task? He pauses and looks at me with a very sincere look in his eyes.
The kingdom of Thriss is worried. They fear that Lyre is falling out of touch with the rest of the kingdoms. Our cooperation goes ever so smoothly, but our lands and connections are as separated as ever.
He runs his paw on the windowsill, touching a flower with one of his claws.
I was sent here as a diplomat, but my main objective will stay the same. I have been instructed to keep an eye on this kingdom and reconnect it with the others.
I understand what he is saying now. You were sent here as a spy. He looks back at me with a confused glance, which then breaks into a warm expression.
Do you think I am?
Well, it's just...
Whether I am or not does not matter. A word of advice, Owen. Trust your own judgment and rely on what you know. That's the only way you can get by in this line of work. What you know can help you in the end.
He puts his paws behind his back and continues walking.
It's okay to trust people, but never as much as you trust yourself. Now, I have one more question for you.
What is it?
Where do your allegiances lie?
Is this a trick question? Is he testing me? Whatever he's doing, I don't like it. The obvious answer would be Lyre, but something tells me that is not correct. I am loyal to the crown, but most of all, I'm loyal to Tigran. I can't get an exact read on his expression, but he seems pleased with my answer.
You're smarter than most. Loyalty to Tigran is important, but you must never forget your dedication to those who matter.
Why are you asking me these questions?
I wanted to make sure I could trust you. I'll tell you this. I am not a spy. I am simply making sure that our kingdoms can work in tandem. Driss wants cooperation with Lyre, but we cannot do that with connections and relations.
He stops walking and looks out the window to see the sun move closer and closer to where the mountains touch the sky. I fear that, after this ball, things will be turning in an undesirable direction. What do you mean by that? There's a long silence before he speaks. Nothing. We shall cross that bridge when we get to it. There's a lot of work in store for us. He turns on his heel and slowly walks away. Oh, one more thing. What is it? You don't have to worry about the king finding out about this conversation. I won't say a word, and I'm sure you won't either, correct? I don't see a reason for why I should say anything. Lord Kadaj hasn't done anything wrong necessarily. I would even say that he's doing his job better because of it. I agree that our kingdoms need to be more tightly connected if we want to ensure stability. I have no reason to say anything. He smirks back at me. That's good to hear. Because if you did, it would be unpleasant for the both of us. And it would certainly make our jobs a lot harder. He says this with no malice in his voice. I think he means well. Oh, and if you were looking for the king, I saw him in the gardens. You'll want to go find him now, though. The sun will be setting soon. Thank you. Have a pleasant afternoon, Owen. Same to you. My mind wanders back to that question. Where do your allegiances lie? I'm not sure if I answered that question truthfully. My allegiances lie with whoever I'm currently serving. They'll be the death of you. Like Kadaj said, I'll get that bridge when I cross it. I just need to get through the rest of this week. I stroll through the courtyards and outer halls and make my way to the gardens. There's nobody here, from what I can see, and the dying light of the sun casts a yellow hue over the grass. The pond is shimmering gold, and the leaves look like flakes of brass. I take a seat on the tree stump that Lyre sat on and stare into the water of the pond. My reflection is almost as clear as if I was staring into a mirror. A leaf falls onto the surface of the pond and creates a ripple that distorts my image. Fuck! What was that? I just felt a searing pain surge through my head for a split second. I bend over, lowering my head closer to the pond, trying to gather my senses. It's then that I have a weird feeling rush over me. My eyes drift onto the path. There's an area that I haven't been to yet. It's enclosed by some walls and towers. It looks like it leads to a very thick patch of brush. The chilly air brushes up against my body. I really should have brought a cloak or something. Standing up, I walk around the edge of the pond and trail my hand along the side of the apricot tree. Leaning in the archway, I think to myself why I'm even going back here. It feels like I'm being forced. I try not to think about it, as I just blame it on curiosity. It is then that I realize I can hear talking. Muffled and distant, but it's definitely a voice.
Pain. Yes.
I can't really make out a complete sentence. The hedges twist and turn, and I find myself walking down a path that feels more like a hedge maze. After a minute of walking, the hedges start to fade out and I can see the rolling hills and mountains off in the distance. What I come upon next is a bit startling. Raynar is kneeling down in the grass, looking away from my general direction. He's in front of a tombstone with a dragon apricot sitting at its base.
Lena. Every day, I think about you. Things are never going to go back to the way they were.
Oh my god. I need to leave. I don't think I'm welcome here. I go to walk back down the path, but as I turn, I scuff my shoe on the path.
Owen?
He says this without turning to look at me. His eyes still linger on the grave, shrouded by the light of the sunset. Yes, Your Majesty? How did you know it was me? He looks down at his knees and then answers.
You're the only one here that wears shoes, Owen.
Oh, yes, that would probably give it away.
I'm sorry that you caught me here, in this moment.
That's okay. I should probably leave.
No, please stay.
He's speaking in a very sad voice, filled with agony.
Do you know what happened?
I just know that she died several years ago.
Do you want to know?
Finding a way to respond to this is difficult. My social skills were never exemplary to begin with, but the situation is a bit too extreme. Still, I am curious. I feel like it would clear up some things. If you wish to tell me your woes, I will listen. I can't even tell if he's breathing or not. The only thing that moves is his robe as it blows in the wind.
Spoken like a man who chooses his words wisely. I've never opened up to anyone about this.
He continues to sit there silently, barely moving.
We were on our way back from visiting Driss 10 years ago. Little Adrius was just 8 years old, looking after the castle for us. Of course, he had the help of Sir Runar. The trip went well, and we had many successful discussions with the lords and ladies of Driss. Our time with King Aren went well too. He was a good friend of mine. Traveling back home was when it happened. Our entourage consisted of several guards and a few dozen soldiers. All of them were trained very well, and the guards were as honorable as they come. But honor only gets you so far in the field of battle. At twilight, we were traversing through the canyon pass when we were attacked. You've heard of the bandit problem, yes?
Of course.
It was much worse back then. An entire legion of brigands, trained to kill. Our carts were sitting ducks. They came sliding down the sides of the canyon. They knew the terrain better than anyone. My soldiers were not farm boys who had never swung a sword, however. They fought them off well. Well enough for us to get a chance to escape and ride ahead. Everything happened so fast, yet I can still remember it so vividly. The way Lena was gripping my wrists with her small but strong hands. The carriage careening down the path, hitting every bump in the road. The driver slumping over in his seat after getting an arrow through his chest. He inhales and exhales deeply through his nose and hunches over slightly. By the time the battle was over, and my soldiers had caught up to the cart, it was too late. She died in my arms, with a dagger in her stomach. His voice is shaking. They killed her. She was good, and she was kind. It should have been. Tears are streaming down his face. His words are sticking in his throat. He gathers himself and continues. When we had arrived back at the castle and Adrius found out, he locked himself in his room for weeks. I would sit on the ground outside his bedroom door and try to talk with him. The amount of grief her murder caused me was unbearable. I can't imagine how he felt. I see him take his cloak and wrap it around himself more tightly. And now, those outlaws have made a resurgence. And I'm powerless.
He finishes his story and sits there, staring at the sunset. This is a lot to take in. I don't really know how to respond. I don't get a chance, however. He stands up and slowly clears his throat and walks back down the path. I follow behind him, not wanting to be left there with all that information.
Owen,
Yes, Raynar.
I need you to be there for him. Once he becomes king. I need you to guide my son down the right path. A king without his advisors is like a brain with no conscience.
He rubs his hands together.
Can I trust you?
Can I be trusted? Can I be there for him? At first the thought irks me, then I remember what Kadaj told me about stability earlier. This might be my chance. I can try.
That is all I ask. I want him to be a better king than I was. I truly did let him down.
Your Highness, don't say that.
It's true. One day, I will explain why.
He looks around and blinks his eyes a few times.
I apologize for robbing you of a perfectly fine evening.
It's quite all right. It's my fault for wandering back there. I find myself choosing my words wisely, like walking on eggshells.
Yes, I suppose so. However, it was a simple mistake, and I don't fault you for it.
He swiftly nods his head while wiping his eyes with his hands.
I'll be going now. Please take care.
Raynar?
Yes, Owen.
It's not your fault. He closes his eyes in contemplation, then responds.
I wish it weren't.
And with that, he leaves. I stand in the garden for a while longer, watching the sun dissipate behind the mountains. The cold starts to get to me, so I head inside. All right. So I think I'm going to stop there. I have an idea of what happens next, and it needs to go in like a certain flow. But yeah, oh man. Raynar getting emotional, Adrius being Adrius, and Kadar is giving us some hints that he has plans for something else than what we appears to be. Even though it seems that he's loyal to Tigran as a whole. We'll see what's going on behind the scenes soon. So this has been Fritz-Ay Says, and everyone have a nice day. Ciao.